like to call this meeting of the Elkhorn Common Council to order. It's January 6th, 2025 at 5:30. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Tim Schroeder,
Here.
Peter Harvey,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Ron Dunwoody,
Here.
Scott McClory,
Here.
Ken Minell,
Here.
Kurt Harkness.
Here.
Next is public comment. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Would anyone like to be heard? Asking again, would anyone like to speak? Seeing no one, we'll move on. Consent agenda. We've got the meeting minutes for the Common Council, December 16, 2024, and Human Resources Committee meeting on December 17th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of both meetings.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any changes or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are passed. The mayor's report, we've got the swearing in of Deputy Clerk Amber Shellman. If you want to come up, Amber, you can go around. Or you want to just stay there? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just come on right up and Elaine will swear you in.
Okay, all right. So if you raise your right hand and then repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Amber Shellman,
having been elected or appointed to the office of deputy clerk,
having been elected or appointed to the office of Deputy Clerk,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear or affirm, if you choose, that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard. Adam.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Couple of updates. One, the JRB meeting, which was scheduled for January 16th, requested for 16th, postponed to February 6th. Just need additional time to get some of the mapping and needs. So that'll look to be on February 6th, which is the next, which is the same night as the planning commission meeting. Just as an FYI, the fire chief is going to be doing a presentation at the next council meeting or an update about the status of the different fire apparatus and vehicles, just to give the council a status update on where those are at, maintenance perspective. So I just want to give you guys a we're working on the city's planning map. I know it's something that's been a priority. The DPW, working with the city engineer, has been working on that. They gave a draft to Vanderwall, who we temporarily just hired for a nominal fee to look at that and provide their perspective for planning, and that will be going to the planning commission hopefully on January 16th. And hopefully the goal is to have that in February to discuss. And then I'm going to turn to Rebecca. Rebecca, I think you have an update about the second meeting in February, council meeting.
Yes, so there's a possibility of having, excuse me, a spring primary February 18th. And we currently have a council meeting scheduled for the 17th. That morning, we typically set up our polling location. So we were wondering if we could move that meeting to Wednesday, February 19th. We won't know, we'll know by the end of this week if we do have a February primary, spring primary, so it's not definite as of yet. So we'll let you know by early next week.
Does anyone have a problem with the 19th?
No. Nope.
And I take it if we do not have a primary, we'll go
It'll
back to
stay
the
as
17th.
Monday, yep.
Okay,
Isn't
thanks, Rebecca.
17th President's Day? We still can meet on that day?
Okay. Thought
Yeah,
for some
it's
reason we
not
couldn't
a-
meet on President's Day. I must be thinking of something else. Never mind.
It's not a city holiday, but if the council wants to give
No.
staff a city holiday, great, let's do it.
I mean,
No,
you
I'm
know,
kidding. I'm teasing.
or Jimmy Carter maybe.
Committee reports, Human Resources.
Thank you, Mayor. The committee met on December 17th. We went into closed session and came out of closed session and made a recommendation to continue to have staff look at different pay ranges and steps and midpoints, et cetera. At some point in the near future, Adam and Casey will come back before the full council and present their findings. And that's the whole meeting.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Moving on to new business, we've got discussion of possible decision regarding proposed resolution 2025-01, a resolution affirming the sale of Lot 72 in the City Business Park to the Walworth County Food Pantry Incorporated. Did everyone see this in their packet?
Yep.
This is, we already agreed to this. I think this is more of just a housekeeping item.
Yeah, they were in order for us to close on the property, the sale, they require us to present this resolution, so.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution passes. We've got discussion and possible decision regarding proposed resolution 2025-02, a resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing. Can you give us a little?
Yeah, just, this is something typical. You may remember last year, the council approved probably 2 or 3 of these resolutions. Just it's to ensure that, you know, if we incur any expenditures prior to the bond sale, that the city can reimburse. If we pay out and cover those expenses first, that we can then reimburse ourselves. So with the council approving the purchase of the ladder truck, with that being a big expense, it we'll be bonding for. We wanted to get this resolution to you as soon as possible so we can, you know, make sure that purchase goes forward. As part of that, we included all other planned capital projects for 2024, I should say all geo debt projects. So there's some water projects that aren't included on this resolution that we'll come back and do separately. We're just trying to keep it clean. So this is for the geo debt we'd be issuing in 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions?
I'm sorry, just one additional thing. We did include a contingency in that number. So that number, the number you see in there, the 4.5 million is higher than what we budgeted or expected. It's just to give the council and the city leeway in case something, you know, dramatic happens when we put projects out for bid. So it's just a CYA.
Motion still stands.
Motion stands. Can I get a roll call, please?
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minot,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. We've got a discussion of possible decision regarding proposed ordinance number 2025, it's probably supposed to be 03.
Yeah, it's gotta be. We also have one beneath it that says 2025-02 that we already did.
Well, the other ones are resolutions.
They're resolutions.
Oh, gotcha.
This is an ordinance.
Oh, that's an ordinance resolution. I get you. One, thanks. On this one? Okay. An ordinance to be approved, the specific implementation plan for the multifamily portion of Creekside Community Development, a planned unit overlay district located at South Lincoln Street at the intersection of Deer Road, tax key YVSE00016. And Elaine had some information for us.
Yes, thank you. So in your packet was the,
Spray button. Yeah, that one. Yep. There you go. Now try it.
oh,
There you
okay, all right. Someday I'll learn.
Doesn't stay on anyway, so.
Right. In your packet is the proposed ordinance for your consideration this evening that incorporates suggested conditions and requirements for the specific improvement plan for this particular development. That document was also provided to the developer, and we received some feedback from the developer on condition number 6, which is on page 7 of your packet. and it's called time for compliance. And the concern was because of the scope and depth of the site, that the timeframes provided here were concerning because the developer feels that while they don't have a concern about applying for the requisite building permits, there's a lot of site work that's going to be happening, and they were a little bit concerned about what substantial work meant as a part of this condition. So I just spoke briefly with Ryan Cardinal about that, and we would recommend a slight change to the wording here to reflect that the SIP approval shall expire within 12 months after the date of adoption of the ordinance if a building permit has not been issued for this use and substantial work has not commenced within 2 years. That would be a reasonable bumper for making sure that the project is moving forward. As you know, there's not just going to be buildings above ground, there's a lot of site infrastructure work that's going to be happening on that site, and a lot of those things are going to be happening first. So he just was concerned about that. I think that's a reasonable request, so we would certainly recommend that change. So the change would be after the words, and substantial work has not commenced within 2 years. Obviously, if there's something else that happens on the site and they need more time, they can always come back and ask for that from the city as well. And that would appear then back in front of you for that consideration.
Is there a definition of substantial?
Substantial work. Your code does not have a definition of substantial work, and that's something that Ryan and I were talking about, and I had emailed Adam on. It uses the word substantial work in a few different places, but you don't have a definition of it. But what I told Ryan, I said, is it is a subjective term. We could define it as a part of this approval if you were so inclined, or maybe that's something that we talk about is actually looking at your code. But what it has meant in some other codes where we've actually defined it, it would be a considerable amount of work done towards completing the project that received approval, which may include obtaining necessary plot plans, surveys, engineering data, easements, deed restrictions, approvals, permit, and then physically starting the project. For typical building construction sites, the site work must progress beyond grading and completion of structural foundations, and construction must be occurring above grade to be considered substantial work. So that is an example of one that we've used in some other communities because it does create a benchmark. There's subjectiveness as a part of it, but it is still a loose benchmark because every site is a little different, and some sites have more infrastructure work than others. And that was, I think, the developer's concern. So we don't have a definition now, but if staff feels, or if the council feels that you'd like to have us explore something like that for your zoning code, we could certainly look at that.
Well, understanding that, like you said, it's hard to cookie cutter an idea like that, but without having some type of benchmark, we don't have a goal for them to meet, and we have nothing to come. How do we come back to them if we don't have anything specified? Not to say they will, that's not what I'm saying. This is just hypothetically. You know, how hard would it be for us to go back and without having this defined in some way, shape, or form?
It would really be it would be a subjective review, but one of reasonableness under the circumstances. Sure. So how we've seen this play out in other communities is if a site has idled, it just sat idle and things have not been progressing either at a rate that you would have normally expected from a standard construction aspect, the zoning administrator would say, hey, you haven't completed substantial work and it's now been 3 years. Things are changing, circumstances are changing surrounding the project. Our position, or it would be a determination by your zoning administrator that substantial work has not been completed, and then they would issue that determination if it hadn't been, or they could decide that it has, and if somebody disagreed with that determination, they would appeal that under the zoning code, well, not under the zoning code necessarily, but under your administrative regs. to the next body, which in this case would be back to the Plan Commission and the council to make a determination, do we agree with our zoning administrator or do we not? And you would have almost like a mini hearing on it. So I have seen that play out in another community not too long ago where actually the governing body disagreed with the zoning administrator and they said, wait a second, we don't agree that substantial work has been started. We want a hearing on this. We want to evaluate it. So it was kind of flipped in that perspective, but that's kind of how I've seen it play out. If you wanted to include a definition, this is one example of a definition. Maybe that's okay with you, maybe it's not. I know Ryan had a little concern about some wording in that. I don't know, Adam, if you have any thoughts on it. Otherwise, I'm not overly concerned about leaving it gray because it would come back to this body to be sorted out. And then it's gonna be a no, you kind of know it when you see it, or you kind of can feel it, know that it hasn't happened. If nothing has gone vertical in 4 years, it would be unreasonable for the developer to say, I've done a lot of work here. And so it would be a fact-finding hearing at that point. That's a long explanation, so it's up to this body if you wanna craft a definition to go in there, or if you wanna leave it as it is and let the situation sort itself out if that happens.
It sounds like we have possible recourse if needed, for authority stuff in there, without getting carried away.
Yes,
In my
I don't,
opinion.
yeah, I mean, is it good to have a benchmark? Yes. Does this definition do it for you? I don't know. There is still subjectivity in this definition, and it is because not every site is cookie cutter.
Well, if we have something already set up as a loose guideline for a benchmark, does that then eliminate some of these hearings and, confrontations in the process? Or, is one way of doing it more advantageous than the other?
Not necessarily, because this definition, which another community came up with after having a situation, still is loose. It still has gray in it. And so you might still end up in a same kind of situation anyway, trying to figure out, do we all agree whether substantial work has commenced on that site or not? And ultimately, it would be up to this body, because it's your condition, and you would ultimately have to decide whether you think it's been satisfied or not. And then if they disagree, obviously, there's recourse in the circuit court for that, so.
Yeah, because if they've got, like you said, if they've got planning, zoning, and plans, and surveys, and, all of that stuff counts as part of the whole project, so, and sometimes it can't, like you're saying, it can't be seen, that's actually still going on.
Correct,
So,
right, there's a lot
it sounds like
of
it's a-
behind-the-scenes
sounds like
work
we'd be
that
okay with
occurs
this.
before you get to vertical construction.
Gotcha.
That is an investment by the developer. So at this time, unless you're inclined to want to revise the draft conditions any further, our recommendation is to add the words "within 2 years" at the end of the sentence, the second sentence of the time for compliance as described before.
I'd make a motion to approve with that modification.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ordinance passes. We've got discussion of possible decision regarding ordinance number 2025-02, an ordinance approving the rezoning of property at 119 South Broad Street from RM1 to a T1 Downtown Transition District zoning.
I would make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ordinance passes. We've got decision and discussion of possible decision regarding proposed ordinance number 2025-03, an ordinance approving the rezoning of the property at 325 East Court Street from RM2 to B2 Community Business District. That went through Planning Commission?
Yeah, it went through all
I
right.
think-
So I'd make a motion to approve that too. These were a couple of ones that we had that were actually been there forever.
and they had the zoning on them that didn't make any sense. Right, Adam, am I straight on that? And we
Yeah.
wanted to straighten them out, actually, both of these, and so that they're zoned properly and they're being used for that. So-
Yeah, the property on Court Street's right next to the county fairgrounds, and
Right.
as it says, it was zoned residential. Obviously, it's been a business for a long time, an auto body shop, and just got sold to somebody else who now wants to put up some business signage and stuff, which isn't in compliance with, which they can't do under the current residential code, so.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Did you make that motion,
Yes.
Ken? Did someone second it?
Yeah, I did.
We had a second, all right, we had a motion, second. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ordinance passes. Now we're going to adjourn to closed session. I have got, it's gonna be a lengthy closed session, I've got a bunch of stuff to read here. The common council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851E to deliberate and offer to purchase public property. The common council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following reasons, pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.851C to consider employment or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.851G to consider with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. The common council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following reasons. Pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.851B to consider dismissal, promotion, or discipline of any public employee or the investigation of charges against such person. Pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.851C to consider employment or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, and pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.851F to consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data. And the common council may entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following reason, pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 19.851C to consider compensation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. The common council will reconvene into open session, reserving the right to take action on the matters of the remaining meeting agendas as posted. So can I have a motion to go into
I'll
closed
make a
session?
motion to go to closed session.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
We're back in open session at 7:34. The first item we have is discussion and possible decision regarding offer to purchase public property, Lot 73 in the business park. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to delay to the next council meeting?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got item B. Is that you, Scott?
Okay.
You're up.
I'll make a motion to terminate employment with the water utility superintendent effective immediately, today's date, for violations of city policies and city code of ethics.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And I
And Ken abstains. Item C takes no action at
Correct.
this time. And then item D is the creation of the 3% wage stripping for public Works employees to obtaining their certified pool operator certification, creation of crew member number 2 positions, and implementation of the market rate adjustments. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion for the creation of that stipend for the Public Works employee, obtaining pool operator, the CPO, the creation of the crew member 2 position, and following the Human Resource Committee as far as wages.
And I'll second.
And a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call.
I'm sorry, who's second? Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yeah.
Ron Dunwoody,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
No.
Okay, the motion passes. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.